Hello everyone, it's Jessica here again with Shimmerz Design Team. You can use my name, Jessica, in the notes of your order for a free gift. I'm also going to be pairing this one up with some acrylic stash busting with a couple of my friends that will be linked down below in the description for you. So if you want to hop along on that acrylic stash busting hop, I will link their videos below for you. I'm pulling out a piece of textured white cardstock and just prepping it with some clear gesso by Finnabair. Getting a little bit sad because that's like the last of that gesso that I have. I probably only have like one or two more layouts to use that up and it'll be gone, and they don't make that kind in that little tube anymore. But I've got the pot to try, so I'm going to try that on a layout here and see how I like that. And Shimmerz also sells their own gesso as well. So I have since used all of that up as well too. So I use gesso a lot, and basically what I did here is I pulled out, I think this was the March color kit, and I pulled out the papers from it, and I really liked this one that had this kind of groovy little paint section on here of these little striped colors. And I was just thinking it would be really cool to use this photo of myself and my baby girl on this one. So I cut that section out using my X-Acto knife, and then I am just drawing a line just to mark where that goes so that I can use my gessoed paper behind it instead of the white paper that it came with, because I wanted my mixed media to peek out around that kind of stripy banner. My one friend calls it, I think she calls it wavy bacon, if I remember right, but it was like an ongoing joke with this little paper. And I'm pulling out a whole bunch of color. So I'm going to stick with mainly pinks today, which is not typically something that I get to play with. But since it's a photo of myself and my baby girl, I figured we're going to go all out today. So I'm just watering down this section on my paper above that top line that I drew. And I've pulled out some Shimmerz and Creameez. This one here, I think, is the grapefruit color in Creameez, and then the darker one on the left there is called Pip Pip Cherry-O, which is a Shimmerz product. Now the products such as the Creameez and the Inklings need to have water added to those little pots when you get them to activate those, because they will be hard in that pot, and then you just add water to soften those up. These Shimmerz pots come all ready to go, so you can literally just open it and stir it up a little bit with your paintbrush and then apply. So what I'm doing here is I just have a little bit of water that I spritz onto my background first, and then I'm adding all of these colors just in like little sections, and then I'm just kind of picking up my paper and just letting it kind of roll together and blend. And I'm going to do a couple layers. So you can see this one's starting to dry here, but I want more color because sometimes when they dry, the color fades and you see a lot of the shimmer versus the pigment itself of the colors. So I usually just go back through and add a couple layers of color until I get it looking the way that I want it to look. I'm doing that by dipping my paintbrush in water and just kind of flicking some of that color on after dipping it in the pot, just creating some splatter effect, and it also helps add more color onto the layout. You can see here I'm just basically pulling up my paper and going into that section that's going to be colored up and drying that as I go. And here it's pretty dry at this point, but still a little bit wet, and that's when I like to do this marbling effect. So I take some white acrylic paint and add a little bit of water so I get a nice texture that's good for splattering, because it's too thick to splatter just straight out of the bottle. So add a little bit of water to that and then just flick it on with your paintbrush like this, which obviously this is a color now that I'm doing, but you get the idea. And then that will create that nice marbling effect with the white to break up the other colors. I really, really love how that turns out and how it looks. And then I'm grabbing my little wavy bacon piece here, and I'm going to distress the edges on this before I adhere it down to my paper. I've already matted my photo with some white cardstock and then another piece of this pattern paper on that backside with the flowers on it. So that's going to be pretty much good to go. I'm going to go ahead and get this stuck down with my ATG gun, and then I'm just going to grab some embellishments that came in this kit. So the kit comes with, depends on which kit you get, but I have the paper kit, which also came with the embellishment pack and then some little epoxy flare as well. So I've got my photo there. It's coming back in at this point. I know that you're wondering, where's my acrylics? Because I am pairing this up with acrylic stash busting, but I have yet to show you the acrylics. And actually, I'm not even going to put the acrylic in this video. I was at a crop whenever I did this, and I didn't even add a title to this, and I kept staring at it and thinking, I want to add an acrylic title, but I don't think I have what I'm looking for with me at the time, and I knew that I had some at home that were kind of like a purplish pink color, and that's exactly what I did. I brought the layout home with me, and then I added it at the very end whenever I got home. So I didn't film adding the acrylic title, but you'll see what I'm talking about whenever I show you the finished pictures at the very end with the close-ups and everything. So I did grab an acrylic piece, which was from Color Rush Studio. I got a little acrylic set from them that was like a summery goodness kit, and I just added one of those, and it's like the perfect shade of that purple that's in the bottom of this stripe, of that little stripy bacon. And I love calling it that. It just cracks me up. But I am just going to use that at the bottom of my photo, and that's where that's going to go. But you can see I'm just layering up the little embellishments. I'm kind of pulling up the edges of the flowers, and I'm popping up the wings of my little butterflies too. I'm going to glue those two right about there with some of my Deluxe Nouveau liquid adhesive. And I'm also going to add some of these cute little wood pieces. These also came in that kit too, and I actually didn't know that these came in the kit at the time, but I think they're super adorable, and I really, really like these. I think they're super cute. You can even color these in with Shimmerz paints. You can color them in with markers. You can use them just wooden and plain like I like to do with these. So yeah, they're just super, super easy to use and to work with on your layouts. There's one of those little embellishments from the embellishment pack, as well as the little flowers and leaves here. You can see I'm just layering them up and kind of pulling up the edges just to give those a little bit more dimension, and just securing all of these little elements down with some of my Nouveau glue. I had to kind of clean my desk off a little bit. You can see that I'm talking because my hands kind of keep going all over the place, and I'm pausing before I put that photo down. So I was apparently talking to people, but big surprise. But it was a super fun crop. We got a lot done. I had a friend that flew in from Louisiana, so I picked her up at the airport, and she was able to come scrap with us for the weekend. So that was really, really super fun. And I actually got quite a bit done, more than I expected to get done. So normally I talk a lot at these crops, and sometimes I don't really get too much done, but I think I ended up getting like 13 and a half layouts done. I had one that I brought home with me to finish, and then this one I just added the title with whenever I got home, but I got quite a bit done, so I was happy with that. So here I just created some little thread twiddles behind my flare here. I'm just adding some glue dots behind those to secure them down to my page and secure that thread to the epoxy flare. And I do that just by pulling out a piece of thread here, adding a glue dot to the flare itself, and then adding my thread behind it. I know I'm doing this a little bit off camera. And then I add another glue dot to physically secure it down to the page. So everything's nice and sandwiched in between those glue dots. And I don't know if you've ever messed with glue dots before, but they are super duper sticky. So that thread is not going anywhere. So I don't have to worry about that. And I'm just kind of messing with it, just getting it to the way I want. I didn't want the end of the thread to be like on my photo, so I kind of like to twirl them around so they're pointing at my photo or going somewhere else. So that's that's pretty much all I'm going to do. I'm going to add this little flower to the top, and let's see what else I grab here. I really just stuck with this kit. I didn't grab anything else from outside the kit until I grabbed the of course, my white paint and my gesso and my acrylic piece that I add when I come home. But that's all that I added that was actually from my stash. Everything else was from this Shimmerz kit. So if you want this kit, you can check on the website. This is a subscription, but you can also buy them separate. But if you want to subscribe, you can get the kits every month, and there's different options that you can get as well. So make sure you check those out. I'll link the Shimmerz shop down below for you in case you want to grab any mixed media items from the shop. And again, just make sure that you use my name Jessica in the notes, because you'll get a free gift along with your order, and it's always a really good gift too. It's not like things that they have just sitting around and haven't sold. It's a really good gift. So here you can see that finished layout and what it turned out to look like. I love it with that Color Rush acrylic at the bottom for my title, these cute little butterflies, and all those goodies from the kit. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope I've inspired you to create something today. Have a great day, guys. Bye bye.